afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Star Cub Review. As you would have guessed now, this one is going to be something completely different. This is my first official video for what I wanted to do with this channel, with my channel, and that is talk about TV series, because I'm very passionate about TV shows, certain TV shows. I don't like all TV shows, but certain ones that have piqued my interest. And today's one that I'm going to discuss is one that I really enjoy. Makes me laugh all the time when I watch it, and that is Cartoon Network's Regular Show, which was created by J.G. Quintel. And Regular Show is hilarious. I've seen it from start to finish, all 8 seasons. I've lost count how many times. I just finished binge watching all 8 seasons again over the last week. Over the last week. And I just finished it yesterday. And I can honestly say, and you guessed it from the title, Regular Show needs a reboot. It needs to come back like every other show that seems to be, having a reboot or coming back and having success, going on to multiple seasons. I think J.G. Quintel's Regular Show needs to have a reboot. I won't say reboot as such, like a complete reboot of the franchise, but they all need to come back. The voice actors, the quirky, funny, weird, psychedelic storylines. But, when it finished up it started in 2010 and finished in 2017. Now, during that time, we've had all sorts of wacky and wonderful things with the two 23-year-old friends, Mordecai and Rigby, and of course they're joined by Benson, High Five Ghost, Muscle Man, Pops, Skips, you name it. Eileen, Margaret, CJ, we've had all these wacky and wonderful storylines. And with the season 8, took us out into space, and they had all wacky sorts of adventures there. And I forgot to mention Starla as well, who is absolutely hilarious. But we've had all these wacky storylines, and with season 8 concluding, getting into spoilers now, if anyone hasn't seen Regular Show, which by now I'm pretty sure everyone has seen Regular Show. I mean, it was a really popular show and got critical acclaim. The epic final battle between Pops and Anti-Pops ended in Pops giving up, basically sacrificing his life to save all his friends. And then it comes to that. I have to admit, I did have my gripes about how it ends, with it being 25 years later, and you see that, Mordecai and Rigby have moved on and all of that, and they've got kids, and Mordecai meets a random goth-looking chick, and they all have happy, times. They meet back at the park, and it's all happy, and it ends with them thinking about Pops. And then obviously as you get towards the end, it rolls out and you see a VHS player with a TV, and out pops a tape called Regular Show, and Pop's saying good show, and that's how it ends. Like, he's obviously in heaven, and that's how it ends. I have my gripes with how that was handled. And I think for an ending like that, it seemed like it was a little, I want to say cliche, they all live happily ever after, but, Pops makes a sacrifice, for the greater good, which I get for the storyline. That's great. But I feel like moving forward 25 years, I don't know, it seems like a little bit of a slap in the face. Because, I've always been interested to know, well, what happens, after Pops dies, what would the world be like now without Pops? And then, of course, his Mr. Maylard dies, and he has a statue of remembrance for him as well, as Pops does in the park. But I've always been fascinated to know what happened after all of that. Like, you could go with all new, completely continue it, but set it a few years later. Mordecai and Rigby are now in their late 20s, early 30s, and you could go them on more crazy adventures or new, expansive storylines where new and past threats come back. They go on zany time-traveling adventures, all that sort of stuff. But I also feel like it was a bit of a slap in the face to myself, but I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but I feel like CJ was a very, very good character. I really, really enjoyed CJ's character. I really did. But the way they handled her, I think was a little bit of a slap in the face, because she became such a popular character, and especially because she was getting so close to Mordecai. I feel like the whole Margaret and Mordecai dynamic died. It pretty much stated that throughout, that run when CJ was in and Margaret was out, it was becoming more apparent that CJ was becoming the more popular one, and that we were moving forward with Mordecai and CJ, and her storylines were funny. Eileen was a very well integrated character. I absolutely loved Eileen, not Elaine. Eileen. Sorry about that. But I feel like CJ was such a really good character, had really good dynamic, and then to suddenly just piss all over her character and wipe her out completely. She had a little cameo here and there towards, the last season where you see her, and that's it. But I feel like she was such an integral character in the last few seasons, and then to wipe her off was, I think, it kind of just bugs me. But I would love to see J.G. Quintel do a reboot, but not a reboot in such as completely start fresh, but revisit the series, have all those original characters come back, have CJ come back, have Margaret and that come back. But obviously by the end of 8th season, you've already are well aware that Margaret and Mordecai don't end up together. That's the biggest slap in the face, is if you were aiming at having Mordecai end up with Margaret through all of this, and she runs to go and see them and all of that, and hug and whatnot by the end of the 8th season. If they weren't meant to be together, then why did you wipe off CJ so quickly? So I don't know. You just wipe her off, and then you reduce her to like a little cameo here and there, and then that's it. And then, have him move on with some random chick, I think is a little bit of a slap in the face. But with the reboot, like a lot of these shows are doing kids shows now, especially teen adult cartoons are doing, is either doing not an entire reboot, but have the show come back, like Animaniacs came back after, years and years of fans asking, we want the show to come back, we want the show to come back. Tiny Toons did the same thing, I think. A lot of shows have done reboots where their characters have come back. iCarly has done, a reboot for, this new generation, but it still retains all of... I haven't watched iCarly, don't get me wrong. I just know about iCarly because I was around that era. All that stuff when Disney started pumping out all those shows like Hannah Montana and all of that, you know. So for other show cartoons especially to have reboots, why can't regular show have it where it's set either a few years later, it's set 5 years later, whatever, and you have CJ come back, you have Margaret and that come back, and you integrate storylines into that new show and maybe reset the clock a bit and don't jump 25 years ahead. Or you can reboot it in a way where Mordecai and Rigby go back in time, you know, to fix certain aspects of their lives before, you know, Pops and Anti-Pops have their massive fight and whatnot. You can change elements and reboot certain, like, refresh certain storylines and go down a completely whammy, you know, storylines, like have wacky, zany storylines. Or you start the plot where Pops comes back, he gets reincarnated, or he comes back. They find a way to bring Pops back, but at the same time, they don't know whether or not Anti-Pops is a part of that, or Anti-Pops and Pops, because they're brothers, they become, you know, Anti-Pops becomes good, and he becomes part of the gang. But then there's that lingering thing, well, he could turn evil again at any point. Who knows? You could go down so many avenues with Reboot as such, but it's also refreshing some of the storylines and going down new zany paths. And I think it needs to happen, because as a huge fan of regular show, as I'm sure there's a lot of other fans out there that are too, I would love to see, excuse me, I would love to see a reboot of some sort. Do some new movies. I don't know. If you're listening to this, JG Quintel, please bring the show back. I would love you guys to bring the show back. That was a big part of my life where, you know, when it first came out and I was watching it, it brought so much life back into, you know, having a good old laugh and a joke. And, you know, while it's PG for kids, a lot of the stuff would fly over young kids with, you know, in-joke adult jokes. You know, they were 23-year-old, you know, characters, and how are they going to relate to young kids, considering young kids like 10, 11, 12, they're not 23. So they don't have all that, you know, growing up with video games, you know, from the 90s or the 80s or whatever, you know, they don't have those world experiences like Mordecai and Rigby have. And it sits so well with me as such, is because I grew up in that era where it was 90s, you know, I grew up with playing 80s consoles, but in the 90s, and then as all the way through the early 90s, I had, you know, your Sega Mega Drive, your Sega Mega Drive 2, your PlayStation, your Xbox, all of that sort of stuff. I'm sure a lot of other people around my age experienced, especially when it comes to, you know, Pokemon, Digimon, Sailor Moon, all of that. They were all my era. And I feel like regular show really needs to come back, because it received critical acclaim when it released, and I know there's a huge fan base out there for regular show. You know, it gets a lot of reruns. There's lots of people out there that love regular show, and I'm one of them, and I really think Quintel needs to bring it back. Bring Skips and all that back. You know, I'd love to see Death again. You know, I want to see Gary and the gang come back. And all of that. Have just have really weird, funny storylines. You know, some things can be relevant to today, you know, 2023. A lot of stuff they could incorporate into Mordecai and Rigby and that coming back is incorporate a lot of stuff, what's happening now in 2023. And you can go in all sorts of directions with zany, wacky storylines. I would just love to see them all come back and really get the treatment that it deserves with having that comeback, like a lot of shows are doing now, where they're doing soft reboots or entire reboots or bringing a series back that hasn't come back for more than 10 years. Gumball, I'm looking at Gumball, another show that I absolutely love, which I have to talk about in another video for my TV series segments, is, Gumball was another one that absolutely flew out, absolutely bloody love. It's so funny, it's aimed at kids entirely, but again, a lot of adult jokes that it's going to fly over young kids' heads, especially when it comes to SpongeBob as well. Adult jokes. Adventure Time. Again, I absolutely love Adventure Time. I'm a huge fan of Adventure Time. And a lot of adult-oriented fly over the ear jokes that kids are not going to get. So, I really think you need to bring it back, Quintel. Really bring it back. I would love to see it come back. And honestly, I want to hear from other people as well. Like, what are your fond memories of regular show? I have fond memories of it when it first came out to now. I always have a laugh. Some episodes make me all teary, and I will admit that. It had some very pull on your heartstring moments in regular show. And the final battle was the final few episodes, especially the epic final battle part was really, it brought tears to my eyes. It's one of those things where, you can still be humorous and funny, but also very heartfelt. And I think that's what all of them brought to the show. All the voice actors, the writing, all of the crew that brought, they brought the really coolness of it all, and wacky, zany storylines that could also be relatable to today, where, kids have imagination, adults have imaginations, teenagers have imaginations. It's all how you utilize it. It's all how it's presented to you. And regular show was one of those ones. It was on Cartoon Network, and it really honed in on the funniness, the wackiness, everything they brought to the table with that was very well done and executed. Microfiche, DVD, Laserdisc, Laserdisc Wars especially. I love the Laserdisc Wars. The power of the keyboard. Won't you take me to the moon? Mordecai and Rigby doing that. It's all set around, a park where they have all these wacky adventures. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely funny. And a lot of kids today just don't understand why shows like this and shows of the past are so nostalgic to myself. Like, it's funny. Like, I think it's funny, and it really goes to show that this new generation of kids just don't appreciate shows of the past and shows now where it flies under the radar with them. Like, they would not understand certain things like Atari and Mega Drive. They would not understand certain things and certain bands and all of that because they didn't grow up with it. They've all come in at an age where kids now, especially young kids, especially teenagers, are just they don't give a shit about what's come before and what they're given now. But whereas a lot of people around my age, will appreciate it. Really find the funniness and humor in a lot of those shows. And that's exactly what it is. It brings nostalgia to me. It brings happiness. Unfortunately, the there's a lot of kids out there today that just don't appreciate good, honest shows. They all want to see, they want to see something that's more, raunchy and, involves, some vulgarity and whatnot, but regular show proves you don't need to be vulgar in order to be funny. And I think that's exactly what regular show did, is it could still be funny with the fart jokes and be a little bit, under the flies over kiddies' ears, but adults pick all that humor up. It's kind of like, oh my god, I see what you did there. That's hilarious. Kids today just don't understand that. They really don't. And I'm not trying to be nasty to, all the new generation of kids, but they really don't. Kids today, I think, really need to take a good hard look, because shows of the past and shows now that we have, some of them will never come back, and some of them never get rebooted. Some of them never see, a new iteration of a series, like a lot of shows now are doing, but a lot of the shows of the past are not getting that treatment, which I think is a little unfair. But I hope if JG Quintel is on YouTube or happens to come across this video, I really hope you can bring all your crew back and bring back regular show. Really, honestly, I absolutely loved regular show, and I really hope that you guys can do a new series on it. I really hope you can. But other than that, I want to thank everybody for tuning into this video, whether they're returning or they're new. I really appreciate the like. I really appreciate the subscribe, and click that notification bell if you want to keep up to date with any of my stuff, any of my content coming out in the future, or if you want to browse my content. I've got playlists, certain sections that's for a broad range of people. If you want to check out that as well, I really, really appreciate it. But I really appreciate any likes and subscribes that I get. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm one of those ones where I'll just keep doing these videos because I enjoy doing it, and it really relaxes me, because I've not done anything like this. Talking about all this sort of stuff. I've never had the opportunity to, living in America is not easy, especially because I'm missing all my friends and family back home. I've had, some major blows in 2023 so far, especially with my ex, who I remained really, really good friends with, passed away a couple of months ago, and it's been really hard, because he would have loved seeing all my videos. He wanted me to do what I felt happy doing, what made me happy. And yeah, it's I honestly can't believe he's gone. He was only 41, but he would have loved seeing these videos, keeping up to date with my channel. So it's kind of, I do that because it makes me happy. I like talking about it, and it's really hard considering, I don't have a lot of friends as such here in the US that that I can talk and have a laugh with. I have a few, but that's it. But I have a big family base at home that I really, really miss, and asking when am I going to come home and visit. And I have a huge fan base over the years that me and my ex built up, and I'm really still good friends with a lot of them, and I cherish all of them. and they're all asking when am I coming home. So it's very, very hard at this stage with a lot of shit that's been going on in the US. These videos help to really connect with people that really like this sort of content, that really enjoy watching videos. But yeah, it's something that I enjoy doing. It's a passion, and I'll just keep doing it. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm just doing it for people that enjoy really watching videos, will comment here and there. At the end of the day, I'm just doing it because it's something that I enjoy doing. I thought about it for years, but was so nervous and anxious about doing any of it because, you know, YouTube is a platform where there's a lot of bullies that can bully you out if you're not in a certain video, if you're not in a certain community clique. Then, you know, other YouTubers don't want to know you. They think you're, you know, you're a threat to whatever they're doing. I'm not a threat at all. I'm just doing it because I enjoy doing it. You know, they've had years and years of, you know, when they first started back 10, 15 years ago, whatever, you know, they've got a big, huge base. And, you know, they have the technology and all of that to do fancy videos and jazzy all their stuff up, whereas I don't. You know, I'm filming from my Google Pixel phone. I do have a camera on my PC, but I'm yet to really sort out how to use it, how to utilize it better, how to do cover pages on the PC, on my PC. So, you know, I'm not very tech savvy, but when it comes to video games and movies and stuff, you know, I'm passionate about that. I'm not a PC freak, so I don't know all the PC terms and how to really set all that up and do real fancy mumbo jumbo videos. Like a lot of these YouTubers that I follow are absolutely amazing. They have great content. I just don't have the knowledge as such that they do when they started up their channel 10, 15 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever. I don't know how to do all that fancy jazz and have all the fancy, you know, click here and, you know, fancy animations for subscribing and liking and stuff like that. I'm still learning all of that, but my main priority is this is my new segment where it's going to be about TV series, and my first one happened to be about regular show that you know, I have a passion for. It's a very good show, and I really hope I see a reboot in the future. But other than that, guys, thanks so much. You know, had a few teary moments there, which I don't show a lot of, you know, sometimes yeah, I haven't really fully accepted my ex and best friend's death as of such yet, but it's hitting me very, very slowly. But yeah, I really wish I could hear his voice. It's one of those things, you know, I used to update him on everything, what I'm doing, you know, what I'm writing, but yeah, it's still very, very hard to comprehend that he's not going to be here to see any of my content, and that's the sad thing about that. It's coming to terms with all of that. But I will leave it at that. Thanks, guys, and I will do some more videos today and over the weekend and stuff like that, and I'll get them out to you as soon as I can. But other than that, thanks so much, guys, for watching. Yeah, have a great afternoon, and I will see you all in the next video. All right, bye.